Welcome back. Now, media coverage of candidates can affect public's perception and voter behavior in many ways, as media is a key way that people learn about how the candidates, as well as their parties and the critical issues that are at stake. Now, misinformation is not exceptional to social media. However, social media platforms can increase misinformation and allow for it to spread more widely and rapidly. Now, joining us with an insight on how social media as well as the internet can have an impact on elections is Vivian Riedman, member of the Human-Centered Digital Transformation and Innovation Consultant at the Namibia Internet Society. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Okay.
Thank you.
Pleasure to host you this morning, considering that we are having special election voting that is currently taking place, will take place starting as of 7 o'clock. So you still have an opportunity to influence, possibly. Okay. So let's talk about the role of the internet and social media in changing the electoral scape in Namibia. Is there such an opportunity for social media and internet to impact the electoral landscape in Namibia?
Absolutely. We have a very young demographic in Namibia, as we all know, and social media and the internet plays a very key role in that demographic. So when it comes to a potential tipping point, that could be a very key element in these elections. But it also depends on how all of the political parties leverage social media. It's unfortunate that I don't think we play the heavy social media game in Namibian politics as we would maybe potentially in other countries, but there are some savvy players in our political landscape.
Indeed, we have seen some also establishing TikTok accounts. We're seeing elders dance, and I'm like, oof, okay, unexpected in Namibia, but I guess it's 2024. What are the positive impacts that you have observed so far in terms of the internet usage during the preparatory period towards elections, considering that we're having elections in 2 weeks' time? That's for the 27th.
You know, I think it's a reflection of the Namibian politics in general that while the political parties vie for each other, something that's positive is that there hasn't been sort of underhanded, backhanded, a lot of mis or disinformation directly from the political parties, which is not a game plan that happens a lot. So one of the positive things that I would think is that they are very much concerned with their own getting their own message across and what they stand for. And that's not always the case, and I think we can really applaud our guys for just concentrating on what they feel is important in their party on social media, although there are, of course, some slurs and slangs that get passed and some side subtle jabs, but for the most part, it's been a clean campaign.
Okay. Have you observed any negative, maybe internet propaganda, disinformation, misinformation, though? We're speaking to, that is a media ombudsman on our sister program, that is one-on-one. He indicated saying in terms of its media monitoring, he saw that there was a decline in terms of misinformation and disinformation. And this, he attributed it to the fact that Namibians have probably learned what is misinformation and disinformation, largely due to the COVID-19 circumstances where we found ourselves, and they've really learned a lot. Could that also be a contributor?
Absolutely. I'd like to think the Internet Society as a whole, as well as the Digital Foundation of Namibia, there's a lot of work that has gone into, there's an organization called MILI, Media Information Literacy Learning Initiative. So a lot of work by government as well as other actors have gone into, prior to this election, just to inform the public. And as we said, social media is predominated by the youth. And if you look at the digital literacy component coming out of school, mis and disinformation has become a big thing. We can thank the incoming president of the States for really, back in 2016 when he originally came into power, don't like to thank him for anything, but one of the things that he did was drive the importance of ensuring that misinformation and disinformation, you can tell the difference. So I'd like to say the actors in Namibia have been doing a good job, and that's why I would, one of the reasons that I would attribute to the fact that we've had a lessening, and it's good to know that the Ombudsman has noted that.
Now, in terms of social media platform has been particularly effective in reaching younger viewers. We know that it's more appealing to the younger people. Are we seeing that perhaps it's also making some sort of inroad towards reaching the elderly population?
It absolutely is. I often, for example, you mentioned TikTok. There's a couple of wonderful TikTok accounts coming out of the villages, exploring traditional life. And so I feel in that way, the youth have introduced the concept and familiarized and normalized social media and the internet use for the elders who seem to really be taking to it. I fear sometimes we don't give our elders enough credit.
Yeah, but indeed they are trying to be part of the digital revolution. Now, in terms of content moderation and fact-checking, you talked about, mainly we know we've got fact-check Namibia. Is this something that we Namibians are becoming now accustomed to be able to verify information and doing fact-checking before posting?
I mean, there's still a lot to be done in that work, but I do feel that there has been progress in that area. So, for example, what we need more of when it comes to mis and disinformation is to have people call people out when they do disseminate information that is not. So while social media, traditionally everybody thinks of it as TikTok, Facebook, or Meta, X, etc., WhatsApp is a very powerful tool in Namibia, and a lot of the mis and disinformation actually gets circulated on WhatsApp. What I would then urge people to do in order to really try to mitigate this is when you do your own fact-checking when the information comes in and you see there's inaccuracies, this is not to call anyone out who did it, but to bring it to light. That is the way that they will be cautious the next time because they've been told this is mis or disinformation. So that would be my thing to that.
Indeed, we've seen the revolution in terms of WhatsApp. You know, there was a time whereby you could only have 56 group members. You know, then eventually we saw it go to 256. Now the number seems to be unlimited. Is there a specific reason, maybe perhaps from your expertise, why they've expanded the number of members, for instance, can be in a WhatsApp group?
Well, I don't know if you know, WhatsApp was bought by Meta a long time ago. And they've slowly but surely, I think, seen the data that WhatsApp groups, and this is not unique to Namibia, but we'll use Namibia as an example. So you've noticed that it's incrementally gotten bigger. And one of the reasons is because WhatsApp is considered a social media platform. And if you limit the amount of people, you keep the groups closed, you limit the information flow, the usage of WhatsApp. So there is a business case to be made to expand and open up the groups. It's a little bit tough, though, to be in a group with 1,000 people.
Yes, indeed. Now let's talk about how social media, do you think social media in Namibia specifically has influenced civic engagement, had an opportunity to hold those elected for public office accountable?
Twitter can be savage.
Yeah, no doubt that. Savage. However,
Twitter, or X as it's called now, X has been one of the predominant platforms since back in 2012. The trend was, especially in Africa, that X is used as a socio-political platform. So we've seen more and more of our people looking to hold our leaders accountable on platforms like X. So I do believe that, especially in this election, what I've seen is it's usually not the post itself that you need to go to. If you go to the comment section, you really get a litmus test of where the public is at. So I think it's been a very good barometer in general.
In terms of online campaigns, have political parties really made use of this media tool, to serve their purpose? Because I see that even again referring to the media ombudsman talked about the fact that political parties appear not to having some sort of content development that is deliberate and some strategy in how to engage the inhabitants of Namibia with regards to using these tools. Do you agree with those sentiments?
So the ombudsman believes that they're not.
They don't have any strategy, some sort of strategy in place.
I absolutely do believe that they're not leveraging social media campaigns to its fullest ability. I don't want to obviously bring to light any party. There is one party who has a very young party leadership, and they do in a way, but it's also very not targeted, not very, as I think the words were, it's not a campaign as such. It's we're going to post, and sometimes the posts are great, but there's no, from my look and view and understanding and opinion, there's no real strategy behind it, and social media is an absolute monster, and we use 10% of its capabilities. We think it's to post and to talk to other people, but there is so much data that can be driven from it. And as mentioned, if you use it right, campaigning on social media, depending on your audience, you can't get better.
Maybe for those that might be watching, content development, how important is it to structure your content, plan your content in terms of posting? Should it simply just be randomized posting?
So, any branding or marketing person will tell you, you always want a strategy behind it. So posting just for the sake of posting sometimes can harm you, because we are not all of the same household. You grew up in a different mother's household than I did, and we think common understanding is common, and it's not the case. So when you are very deliberate about what you post, it is because you've researched and understand the messaging and the positioning of the words and the images and what you say. So in terms of content development, I believe that you really need a good content strategy based on what is the message that you're trying to get out there, down to the language. If, for example, you want to be rugged and masculine, you will use words like forceful words, powerful, bold words. If you're trying to be a humanitarian, so the language and all of it plays a huge role. And if you don't have a content development strategy, like you said, it's hit or miss, and you post and you get 300 likes here, but then suddenly in this post you get 1,000. Understand, why do you get 1,000 here and only 300 here? If you understand what people are engaging with, that's going to change your campaign.
Now, we know that social media is also a weak safeguard in terms of preventing misinformation. Are there any current regulations or policy right now with regards to the election taking place to ensure that we prevent the possibility of misinformation, or any recommendations that should be done? We know that access to information, for instance, has still not yet been, the act has not yet been gazetted. I mean, it's not yet been enforced in terms of implementation. But are there any practices perhaps that are happening elsewhere that Namibia could think of deploying?
This is a tough question, and I wish I had a straightforward and simple answer. As recently as over a month ago, the Namibia Internet Governance Forum held an event where we spoke about not necessarily social media, but the fact that platforms like X, Meta, we cannot hold them accountable. So any kind of social media policy or plan that gets put in place can only work on the citizens from the point of if it's regulated. And I know that last year the former minister, ICT minister, Honorable Mushelenga, did start talks about a social media policy. It's not been promulgated, so right now we are not sitting with anything concrete. What's happening when it comes to the digital world is that we unfortunately have to take laws from other laws and to see how we can apply them digitally. It's not been very successful. I know the former First Lady as well. She had a big problem with her image and what was being said, and when she tried to hold third parties accountable, it was very difficult. It is something the government, I can say, current government, no political affiliation, is aware of and is trying to find the best way forward, because you must understand there's also a freedom of expression that comes into any kind of monitoring or policing, really, social media, and no country yet has been very successful in that.
Successful at that, indeed. Now, as we conclude our conversation, how do we balance freedom of expression and the need to regulate harmful content, especially during election? I know you did touch a bit on it, saying that obviously there is no model available. There's only so much you can be able to do. But is there a way to do something differently in Namibia, perhaps?
The political parties really need to get a good social media team in place, because my first response to that is to counteract mis or disinformation. You need to be quick. A lie will travel around the world 5 times before the truth has its time to put on its shoes. So being just as fast is one of the most effective ways, and monitoring it and being able to maybe shut it down before it travels too far. So my recommendation is, don't feel social media is just an add-on. It is a powerful tool. Put a good crack team in place, and you will not only manage your own image and your campaign, but any kind of mis or disinformation.
Well, Viviette, thank you very much for making time to speak to us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Now, that was Viviette Richman from the Human-Centered Digital Transformation and Innovation Consultant from Namibia Internet Society, talking to us about the impact of social media and the internet on the elections. Stay tuned. Good Morning Namibia continues more conversations after this break.